yourself again. So, for example, when I was younger, I had bulimia for years, so everything was defined by calories and fat grams because
could you just tell us what bulimia is? Because some people generally might not know.
bulimia, well, when you binge eat and then you throw up. So
Right.
for me, that was how I would stay slim. And so my obsession with food was around calories and fat grams. So anything that was high calorie or high fat was bad. And then as I got more into health, I started to get into clean eating. And all of a sudden, the enemy changed from calories and fat to artificial sweeteners and sugars. And we see this a lot played out actually in the media. But the problem was that at the core, my relationship with food, it was all around fear. It was fear, first of all, of getting fat, but then it was fear of getting sick.
Wow.
And so the relationship was coming from a place of fear. And I think that kind of freedom and relaxation with food comes from a place of love when you're choosing foods for nourishment, or you're choosing foods because you've decided you're going to go out and have a nice night and you're going to enjoy this meal. So the place within yourself is from a different motivation.
Yeah,
Becky, you agree with that?
I totally. I think that also, if we don't respect ourselves innately, like if we don't have a sense of self-worth that is not dependent at all on like what we're eating or how we're moving, like if we're doing none of that, do we still love ourselves? Then only if we have that can we choose well when it comes to food or other things in our lives. Only then can we like make helpful decisions about ourselves from that place of self-respect.
Absolutely. And I think that's why people can get so caught into fad diets or excessive exercise or diet pills, or they're sort of going from one approach to the next approach because it's always coming from that lacking mentality or fear. They're not doing it because they're trying to learn to love themselves or to nourish their bodies.
I think for me, my relationship with food with regards to other people is I've noticed like if shopping is if I'm low on shopping, even though there's things that I could make little meals from pasta and a little bit of tuna, I get this kind of panicky sense of like I just want to make sure there's foods I can feed the kids, even though there's food that can still work. And I think that is my connection with. I see that as me providing, as me fulfilling that role as their mum, and I think that comes from having a parent as well who was a single parent who'd come from the Windrush and had gone through areas of rationing, but then her one thing that she had control to, no matter whether you had money or not, you was going to eat something wholesome. And I think I've grabbed onto that regards to how I feed my children and how, if it's parties or gatherings, how I want to feed people with love through my food. My relationship with food on a personal level, I don't know if we've got enough time for us to go through that.
I mean, that sounds like pure love to me, the way that you cook food and approach food. And you were talking about fried chicken earlier, and when you were describing it, I just thought that sounded like so joyful as well. And maybe it's about accepting it and not having shame around it. I really maybe hungry. I want to eat some.
That's right. We've got a caller on the line, and we're just going to check what line this caller is on. We've got a caller on the line, and it's Rita in Southeast London. Hello, Rita. You want to talk to us about binge eating?
I do, and I also have a couple of questions and a couple of points because I too trained as a chef in catering.
Okay.
Like Marcus, so I completely agree with what Marcus was saying, and it is. I think binge eating for me, yes, it's a good description, but it's emotional overeating that is an epidemic in this country. I can't believe Marcus and I are the only ones that feel, if something goes wrong. I think so many millions of people, maybe in this country, young and old, of all ages and all shapes, because the bulimia, I think, is a kind of binge eating, isn't it?
No, it's the bulimia is when you eat a lot and then you make yourself sick. Have you had
There is that element of binging in there as well before.
I agree with the doctor. Yes, there is an element. Because it isn't as... I mentioned this recently. I would like to mention about public health. That public health is not picking up. GPs are not picking up, and hospitals tend to think of it simply as a psychiatric problem. Are you aware of that, Doctor? And Becky?
Sorry, what was that again?